So when we browse the bushcraft world in the internet, then there is a kind of a gold standard for what a bushcraft knife is supposed to be. The full tang construction, so it's robust enough to do heavy work like prying, batoning. Blade thickness around 4 to 5 millimeters. Scandinavian grind, so it cuts into wood like hell. Lanyard hole, so you can do magical things with this little tool. And of course, a sturdy and robust sheath, where you can easily draw your knife. So listen, I don't want to speak badly about these kind of knives, and I don't want to speak badly about this certain brand, and I don't want to speak badly about techniques like batoning. But I have some thoughts about my knife philosophy I want to share with you. But no breakfast today, just coffee. So yeah, these are all reasons why I purchased that knife back then. It has to be a reason that anyone recommends this type of bushcraft knife or this specs a bushcraft knife should have. I mean, it's really a well-made knife from Sweden. No quality issues. It's a good steel, it's very sharp, and I can't complain about that. I realized that this is not a knife which fits my needs. So look at a random knife recommendation thread in a forum or Reddit or somewhere else. First knives which comes into mind most people are Mora knives, and then suddenly people appear and say, well, they are too bad for certain tasks. Listen, I am a hunter. I need a knife which can butcher 2 wild boars without resharpening. And then other people come and say, well, a Mora is nice, but you're not able to batone with it. You can't rely on that in an emergency situation. And all these folks have their point, and from their point of view, they are totally right. So if I were a hunter and I had to prepare wild game, I would grab a hunting knife or a butcher knife or something. So I am fully aware that there is no one knife that can cover all tasks. So here is my claim about that. The more disciplines you design a tool to cover, the worse it gets at each individual one, in my opinion. I mean, take this batonability. I don't know if that is even a word. You design a knife with a thick spine so that it is able to do rough work like prying or batoning or whatever. But there is a trade for that, and you trade durability for cutting ability, in my opinion. Every extra capability you bolt onto a blade gets paid for somewhere else, I guess. I mean, to be fair, the trade is worth it when you say you baton your knives on a regularly basis because you like to do so, because you don't want to carry an axe or something, so totally fine with that. But anyway, it is a trade. And marketing often enough pretends it isn't one. So look at my favorite knife. I called it Viima because it's a cold cutting wind in the north. I made that 15, 16 years ago or even longer. By the definition of what a good bushcraft knife has to be, this isn't one, because the only thing, it has a Scandi grind. But there is no full tang, it has a rather thin blade, and the sheath is sturdy and robust, but you need 2 hands to pull that knife. But here's the thing, this knife was designed to do a lot of tasks knives usually aren't able to do. And this knife is designed just for one purpose: cutting, whittling, carving. So it's not meant to batone with in the first place or to use it as a pry bar or something. Pry bar and cutting tool, in my opinion, that's a contradiction, because you want a tool which is thin enough to slice, and if you want to have a pry bar, you want a tool that is thick enough so it won't break. So it's always a compromise with these knives. So this is a small piece of hard beechwood. Viima has no problem to cut straight through it. See, what I'm talking about. This knife can do it, but it needs way more effort. And there are Scandi grinds and there are Scandi grinds. I mean, both are by definition a Scandinavian grind. But due to that blade thickness and the grind height, it's much more steep than this one. And you also realize that when you want to cut notches into wood or something, with this one it's way easier than with this one. It's possible with both, but more effort on this. And another trade you make, in my opinion, is the weight. The more robust the tool is, the heavier it is. And this has around 200 grams. So no problem on the belt. I mean, I carry around a lot of weight. So 200 grams up or down are not the issue. But for me, when you work with this knife on a certain project, I don't know, carving a spoon, 10 pegs, what comes in mind, whatever, what you are doing outside. And I feel the weight at some point. And it's more exhausting to work with this one than with this one. It's just 90 grams. So this one weighs less than the half of this one. Often enough, the handle profile of full tang knives are a bit, what you call it, a bit boxy. I love the more natural round shape of these stick tang knives. I mean, yes, this one I made on my own, so it perfectly fits into my hand. And even if you purchase a factory-made puukko knife with a full wooden handle, this is way easier to reprofile or to modify than these ones. I mean, it's also possible if you have the right tools. And yeah, in some situations you might have to improvise and split some wood for a carving project or to get dry wood from the inner core or something. And up to this thickness, it's also no problem with these puukko knives if you pay attention not to stress the knife too much. But here's the thing, when I see people in the internet batoning with these kind of knives, you can thresh it through thick, rough wooden logs, no problem at all. But wooden logs and all that videos or pictures in the internet, they have a straight cut. So there are several options on that. I mean, if you have your straight cut timber, it is not really a survival situation. So the argument that you need that technique for an emergency might not work. Or you also carry a saw with you. But here's the thing, in my opinion, if you carry a saw already, you can just split your wood with the saw. So there's also no need, in my opinion, for a thicker knife. Speaking of mindset, and that is of course highly subjective topic, but for me this knife is made to survive the wilderness, and this knife is made to dwell in the wilderness, to help with all the little things you need to live in the nature, whereas this knife might be a bit more for coming back home. So kind of a wilderness survival knife. And there are many outdoor and bushcraft and survival popes out there. I mean, Lars Fält is one of them. And he and Ray Mears, he chose the way of the full tang knives for their needs. And when you look at Morse Kochansky and Cody Landin, they would go for the thinner, more traditional knives. I mean, yeah, Morse Kochansky, of course, in his last years, he promoted the Skookum Bush tool. But most of his career, he just used a simple Mora Classic or Mora 510. And Cody Landin still uses his old Mora knives. And they are also teaching survival skills. So maybe it's not about the tool, maybe it's about mindset. And as Morse Kochansky's most famous quote is, the more you know, the less you carry. So with the right mindset, you are able to survive even without a knife or just an Opinel or something. There are so much survival knives, especially since the Rambo movies, and I don't know any survival situation or real survival story from all over the world where a knife played a significant role, or a high quality survival knife played a significant role in survival. Yeah, maybe there are guys like, well, you need a thick knife because if you find a box or something and you have to open it, you can pry with that knife. I mean, maybe they confuse real emergencies and real survival situations with computer games. I don't know, but with every knife, with this and with this, you can build also other tools which might help you. So you don't need necessarily to use this knife and thresh it through thick wood. You can also carve a wedge with it and use the wedge. And you don't need to pry with this one. You can also cut a wedge on a longer stick of hardwood or something, and then you can pry with that. So why should I limit myself and trade cutting ability of a cutting tool with other features, which I personally don't need? Another point, in my opinion, in my knife philosophy is don't underestimate the familiarity with your tools. I mean, objectively, maybe there are better options than this one. Objectively, they are better knives with a better steel. But I am familiar with this certain knife because I built it myself and I worked with it for years. I initially grabbed this one over any other knife else. So it's not just about the performance of the tool itself, but how your experiences with a certain tool are. I mean, I guess a good musician can even get a proper melody out of a bad instrument, whereas a bad musician can use the best instrument in the world and he wouldn't hit a proper tone. I mean, also the steel choice. I am fully aware that there are high-performing, high-tech steels out there, Almax or 3V or how they are all called. For this one in the field, I just need a pebble to sharpen it. And if you have a super steel knife, you need to carry a diamond sharpening stone or something like that. So there is a kind of dependency chain. You need another tool for maintaining the first tool. I totally get that if you have a knife with this high-performing steel because you are, yeah, let's go back to the hunter, because you are a hunter and you want to prepare a moose, elk, wild boar, roebuck, whatever, and you don't want to resharpen between the process. You want a knife that stays sharp. Then I totally get the point, and it's totally fine that these certain tool exists. But what are we talking about in most cases in bushcraft? I don't go in the woods and hunt huge wild game which I need to process all day. Maybe sometimes I catch a fish or something, and that is where these knives are good enough for. My preferable steel is carbon steel. And for me, it's also a reason of ecological fingerprint, I would say, because the carbon steel just needs iron and carbon. And it's a rather easy process to win a good performing steel. All these powder metallurgic steels, all these modern stainless steels, they need additives like chromium, molybdenum, anything else, and these materials also has to be won somewhere, and the process of making a powder metallurgic steel is very elaborate and it needs a lot of energy. So in my opinion, carbon steel is better for the environment. Oh, and by the way, I heard that argument that carbon steel is not a good choice for beginners because, yeah, it can rust easily if you don't take care of it. But in my opinion, it is the perfect choice for beginners because you learn to maintain your tool, and that is more important than the tool itself, in my opinion. I gave my daughter, when she was 5 years old, I gave her a first wood jewel puukko, a small kid's knife, which is made from the same steel than this one. And I showed her how to take care of it, that she should wipe off the blade after using, that she has to clean it, that she has to put it back when the blade is dry, otherwise it can rust. So it's not a good argument saying that carbon steel isn't suitable for beginners. We are speaking of living in the wild, and for me, attentiveness is a big part of that. Being attentive on my surroundings, being conscious about myself, about the things which are happening around me. So why shouldn't I pay attention to my tools? So much people are in a hurry and everything has to be fast. Everything has to perform fast, and you have to take a shortcut to your success. What are we doing with our time in the outdoors? I mean, there's time enough. In 8 hours in the woods, I have way more time for anything than in 8 hours on work. I can't understand this mindset. A tool must be fast accessible. You have to draw it immediately, and then you have to do your task, and then you put it back without thinking on wiping off the blade or thinking on stains and rust and all that. That's not a mindset I understand. Doesn't necessarily mean my mindset is the right, just to make that clear. So I'm also just a student, not a teacher or something. So maybe it's a spiritual thing, and maybe you don't get me at that point. But I guess we go into relation with everything we do, and when we are in our house, we have the relation to all that stuff we bought, all that stuff we have, and when we are in the wild, we should have a relation to our surroundings there. I know that from myself. Often enough, I sit there with my smartphone and I'm not in the woods. I'm in the internet. So shame on me on that too. Oh, well, I'm just rambling. Okay, folks, so what is your opinion about the bushcraft knife, the gold standard of the bushcraft knife? Do you go for it or do you have other options? Let me know in the comments. Feel free to subscribe my channel and visit my website, ulvgart.com. Cheers.